Tanya, and today I want to talk to you about building structures that last. We all want a bomb-proof, hurricane, tornado-proof house, but have you ever thought about if it's possible to accomplish this? Well, one man in our country set out to accomplish this about 10 years ago, and he has really just completely changed my mind on the whole thought process of where I want to live and what kind of house I want to have. My husband and I have owned several houses. We've had some rental houses and we've lived in a couple of different houses in the last 20 years that we've been together. And he has frequently complained about how poorly they are built. My husband is from Puerto Rico, and in Puerto Rico they build all of their homes, even the roofs, out of concrete. And while I love all types of concrete furniture and all types of concrete things, I never thought a lot about having a full concrete home because they just don't really have them here. But after coming across this house of Chateau Pensmore, I've had an entire new revelation on building a concrete home, and this is what I want to share with you today. So concrete, this is a picture of Chateau Pensmore. It is located in the Ozarks of Missouri, and it is one of the largest homes in America. It's got 12-inch thick walls made out of insulated reinforced concrete. It says it can withstand an E5 earthquake. It can withstand a bomb. It can withstand hurricanes, tornadoes, bullets, you name it. It's supposed to be the most indestructible home ever built, and it's quite amazing if you look it up. And it's kind of just inspired me to look more into concrete and its origins and how feasible it is to one day have a concrete home here in the U.S. So in researching concrete, I decided to go back to its origins. So concrete has been around for many, many years. It began with the pyramids. It goes back to the pyramids of 2500 BC. The pyramids were actually made out of an early form of limestone and sand and dirt. They're not sure of the exact components, but new information has shown that the pyramids were cast of an earlier form of concrete. The Roman Empire is also known for constructing some of the world's best known concrete structures, many of which are still standing today. And then we do have concrete here in the U.S. too. A lot of our schools are built of concrete. Many of our government buildings are built of concrete, and several other things. Also, the Great Wall of China is built of concrete. So going back to Rome, the Romans are kind of known for their concrete. A lot of their structures are still standing today. The Pantheon was built in 125 AD, the Colosseum, and they've recently just discovered in like the last year what kind of components they used in their concrete to make it last so long, because the concrete that we have today is not as strong as the concrete the Romans built. But it is still very, very strong. But the Romans actually used a combination of lime and volcanic rock to have their concrete last as long as it did. These are some other structures in Rome. St. Peter's Basilica, built in 1506, and the Senate House of ancient Rome, Cura Julia, built in 44 BC. So as you can see, that's some of the longest standing structures in the world are made of concrete. So concrete building, I mean, theoretically, if our homes were built with a modern type of concrete, they do have some, if you wanted to spend more, then you could theoretically have a home that lasts for thousands of years, possibly, to just hand down. But nevertheless, it is, from what I can see, one of the strongest, if not the strongest building materials you can use to build a home with, and safest for you and your family. So in the United States, a lot of the schools are concrete, the Pentagon. I'm sure all of you are familiar with some concrete, which they do use. It's pretty standard in almost all homes, and it is the foundation. The foundations of all homes are primarily concrete. and the rest of the house is typically a wood frame. And then it's got the plaster and sheetrock. That's the common houses that we have here in the United States, but the larger buildings and things are concrete. The ancient pyramids of Giza, that is, they believe is a mixture of limestone and sand. It's an earlier form of concrete, and they recently proclaimed that they no longer feel like the Egyptian stones were carved and taken, somehow by 1,000 men, which is what the theory was for the longest time. In the last couple of years, they've now believed that they were actually cast in an early form of concrete, and that is how the pyramids were built. The pyramids were built, it's estimated they were built 2,550 BC. So we all know, of course, they're still standing. So building a home out of concrete in the United States. So if you decide that you want to build a home out of concrete, these are just a couple of the things that you will be faced with. So one is finding a contractor. Since the concrete homes in the United States are not, there's not as many of them as there are in other parts of the world, like the Middle East or the islands or China. They primarily do build of concrete in these other countries. However, we don't here. So your first challenge would be to find laborers. I know you guys don't have, probably, I don't know if you know Puerto Ricans or not. My husband's thought process on that was we would bring over some people from Puerto Rico, have his family connect us with some, and then pay them. That would be a cheap way of doing it. But the actual material of concrete is actually cheaper than your typical building materials. So one is the cost. Now, it can be cheaper, but then again, if you don't have access to skilled laborers, because there is a shortage of them just due to the lack of building with that material in this country, it could possibly cost you more. The second thing about building with concrete is concrete, it can look just a flat concrete. Let me show you this beautiful home like this. Or you can finish it on the outside with stucco, different types of design. So there is options. You're not just going to be stuck with the plain concrete. As far as the interior goes, you can finish the interior with sheetrock if you would like, or you can leave it the concrete walls. That's what they do in a lot of the coastal properties down in South Florida. And then if there is water damage, you simply just pressure wash it out. It's very easy to clean. So that part is good. And then another thing to be mindful of is when building a concrete home is it can take a little bit longer. Just because concrete does take longer time periods to cast. After it's poured, it has to sit for a couple days to cast. But when you're done building it, sorry, I'm having a little issue with my slides. But when you're done building the concrete home, you have a house that is much sturdier. It's virtually waterproof. It's also very resistant to termites and bugs, which is the biggest problem that we have here in the southeast corner of the country, is termites and bugs and things like that. So you are resistant to that, to water, to fire. It's stronger than any kind of other material you could use. It's not going to be easily blown down in the event of a tornado or a hurricane. And it's going to insulate well as well. It provides better sound insulation as well as heating and cooling insulation. So building a concrete home has numerous benefits that I hope that you guys will look at when you decide to build your next home and consider using concrete. Thank you very much.